Communities to the UK started in last century, mainly from the Indian subcontinent. In the last century, in the 1970s, you started getting a small number of students and people who are professional who gathered in small houses, whose religious and cultural needs were addressed through community gatherings and what have you. You have the first dedicated Shia center built in the 1970s. Then you had the migration of a few members of the Khoja community from Uganda after their expulsion by Idi Amin, and the World Federation was established in the mid-1970s. Then you have a migration of Shias as a result of the first Gulf War, then the second Gulf War. And then you had a few communities from Lebanon, few from Bahrain. So you have a good mix of Shias from all these parts of the world.
The two major denominations of Islam are Sunni and Shia. Even though there are some differences, the similarities are much more. The beliefs and theologies remain very similar, with very few differences that often get misrepresented and exaggerated.
Islam is not a monolithic religion. There is a diversity within the faith, and the Religious Education Council has been sort of the pioneer of teaching and pushing towards the diversity within the faith. Not just the diversity, but the breadth and depth of the faith too.
We have to accept the fact, however much we may regret it, that around the world the perception is that Sunni and Shia people hate each other and have always hated each other. We know that this is far from the truth. We know that this is a complete distortion of reality, but that's the way that so many people around the world see things. Now, part then of bringing Shia perspectives into the RE program is to say, first of all, look how much commonality there is, look how much overlap there is, and secondly, to help people to understand at the end of the day, if you profess the Shahada, you're a Muslim. And that's the end of the conversation. Now, you may have a different concept, a different framework, but we're all Muslims. And so to see the way in which Sunni and Shia over centuries have combined and worked together and have lived in mutual harmony is a profoundly important lesson for our society today.
The Shia that migrated to the UK were very small in number, and they remained content offering services and gatherings for their community members inside their own homes.
You can say that he meant this in a better way, in a good way.
However, by the late 80s, when numbers had increased, collectively they pulled together to invest and establish mosques and community centres.
Very nice and beautiful way.
With focus on catering for migrants arriving to the UK, involvement in outreach and public life did not get as much attention as it deserved. This left a gap in the general understanding of Shia Islam, which often led to misconceptions, both from other Muslim communities and the wider public.
I think it's important to understand that in order for any group of people or a certain part of the Muslim Ummah to be established, it needs time, it needs their presence, and also certain circumstances would help to enable their development in society and their incorporation, so to speak, into curriculums and other necessary tasks. With regards to Shia and the teachings of Shiism, I think it's important for us to appreciate that when we study the history of the migration of the Shias to Europe, or their existence in Europe, at the beginning it's all about self-survival. You know, the fathers, the forefathers, the grandparents, they came here and it was establishing mosques It's about establishing Husseyniyas and making sure that the identity is preserved. But in the last few years, with the rise of, for example, questions around the West, with the frequent mentioning of the term Shia and Shia Islam, with the political developments that have happened in Iraq, in Syria, before that in Iran, there is now much more need to come out of the closet box, so to speak. And some have realized that we cannot cocoon ourselves to our mosques and our centers, and it's really now time to preserve the identity by ensuring that people understand what the faith is all about.
Part of that, I think, is because when these issues were really coming up in British educational thinking, it was not long after the Iranian Revolution, and the way that that was portrayed, the way that that was perceived, gave a real distortion of the Shia perspective on Islam, and therefore keep well clear of this. We don't want anything to do with this. So there's a bit of back pay there that has to be worked through. I think another thing is that other communities have been much more organized. They've been organized in terms of producing and funding literature, in terms of training teachers, and in terms of dedicating scholarship to actually try to understand and communicate that. The Shia community has been slow in that regard, and that's something that needs to be addressed. And when we think that the Shia community in Britain, by comparison with the overall Muslim community, is extremely well educated, is very well organized, and certainly quite significant elements of it have access to serious amounts of funding if they choose to use it.
But then on the other side, we've got the addition of Eid al-Qadir and Ashura, that's the Shia one.
We know already from working with our own students, many of us as teachers know that there's many misconceptions about the Shia tradition. If you look at the television or if you use Google to try and find out about the Shia tradition, you get a really poor representation of it. And what we're trying to do when teaching children about it is to make them better informed.
The Al-Khoei Foundation was founded in 1989 and was one of the main centres for the Shia community who had migrated to the UK. They managed to open a mosque in the northwest of London and have lobbied for the Shia community to be recognised in public life and education. In recent years, the foundation have successfully added Shia beliefs as part of the Islamic religious education curriculum.
One of the biggest changes that took place in the 2015 document was that there must be two religions taught at the GCSE level. Prior to that, you could just choose one faith and do your GCSE in that faith. But now it's compulsory to teach two religions. And I've been told by various people that the biggest choice amongst all the schools is Christianity and Islam.
A Shia pupil, if they wanted to answer a question about Islam in RE, if they try to express their own beliefs, then they will fail the exam.
I think it's really important to introduce the Shia perspective on Islam. We need to get our terminology right here. There is no such thing as Shia Islam, as though it were some separate entity running around. What we're talking about is Islam as is understood in the Shia tradition, the one and only Islam in the Shia tradition. Now, that's the key to understanding what we're trying to do, because people have received over the last 30 or 40 years in Britain one particular interpretation of Islam as though that were Islam. And that has, in a sense, given a very limited understanding even of the Sunni perspective, because it's come from one particular place on that Sunni register. We've not sufficiently equipped people to see diversity. Now, this has a terrible consequence in that people do not have the knowledge, the understanding to distinguish between a complete lunatic doing something and calling themselves Muslim, or calling themselves an Islamic State, for example, and true Islam, because we haven't taught this sort of legitimate diversity. Now, the whole key to understanding Islam is that it is in the blessing of Allah that there should be diversity within the Ummah. We've always had diversity from the very beginning. The way that Islam was received in Iraq, in Basra, in Kufa, for example, was different to the way that it was received in Medina or in Damascus. And this has always been the reality. We had dozens of Sunni schools of Sharia in the early days, and they gradually coalesce into the 4 schools that we have today. So legitimate diversity is an intrinsic part of Islam. Now, into that mixture then, we need to bring the Shia perspective on Islam.
I think this story starts many years ago when I met Alia Azam, who, as you know, works as a teacher in the Al-Sadiq and Al-Zahra schools. And we had a discussion about the teaching of Islam and about how there was a big gap in the sense that the Shia tradition was never, ever included. The GCSE specifications had this section which was usually called something like major divisions and interpretations, where you would have some sort of cursory mention of the Sunni and Shia differences, but it was always the emphasis on differences and not about the Shia tradition in its own right, or indeed the unity between the different traditions. And there was really no opportunity to do anything about it until in the last 2 years, when GCSEs were about to be reformed. And I found myself as the chair of the qualifications committee of the Religious Education Council, which was part of the process of reforming these GCSEs.
Within Islam, it's much more balanced now. So you have the Sunni beliefs and the Shia beliefs. People hear on the news that there are problems going on in various parts of the world between Sunnis and Shias, hot topics that could be discussed about in classrooms. And so people need to know, what does Shia mean? What does a Sunni mean? And so this has provided us with a great opportunity to clarify the actual beliefs and dispel any misconceptions.
This is important today for 2 reasons. One is the extremist groups who regard Shias as kafir or non-Muslim. These ideologies need to be isolated from the mainstream. And if you don't explain the real beliefs of Shia Islam and how Shia Islam is actually has so many common factors with Sunni Islam, in terms of we have the same Qibla, the same fasting, the same Hajj, the same Zakat, the same practices, as well as same beliefs. We believe in Tawheed, Al-Adala, and most people don't really know that. So they get trapped by extremists who come and tell them the Shias don't believe in Tawheed, the Shias worship graves, the Shias do this, the Shias do that. So education is the key, is to address this religious bigotry and ignorance.
Well, in the United Kingdom, of course, we are so fortunate that it's a plural society, that you have Muslims, you have non-Muslims, you have different faiths, people of different perspectives living together. And so education is at the heart of creating a society, and the individual who's going to live in a society. It's critical that we create an individual who has understanding and depth of knowledge about other religions, other traditions. So to have teaching about Islam, alhamdulillah, it's excellent for Muslims, whether they be Shi'i, Sunni, or different denominations from within Islam. But also, alhamdulillah, it's of great benefit to young people who are not Muslim. So they also understand what we really stand for, what our religion is about. So you then create a cohesive society in which there is understanding at the heart of this. Yeah. So when terrorism happens, when ugly things happen, they know this is not the Muslims who are doing this. These are people who use Islamic symbols, Islamic language, but in fact they have nothing to do with the religion itself.
Amir al-Mu'mineen, peace be and blessings be upon him, says, الناس أعداء ما جهلوا. The worst enemy for humankind is their ignorance. If people do not know about the teachings of the Commander of the Faithful, the teachings of the Ahl al-Bayt, why Shi'ism is distinguished in that sense. But there is the spirit of unity. Yes, there is the spirit of sitting with our brothers and sisters from the other schools of thought and respecting what the Maraji' have said should be respected and so on and so forth. But that doesn't mean we dilute our own identity, and therefore there is a need for the teachings of the Shia to be introduced and to be taught, so to speak, to the masses, certainly in the West.
I think this is a big step in community cohesion, where different communities, different members of faith and non-faith can actually learn about each other. And in the end, my own view as a teacher is that I want to teach this job of teaching RE to people to make a society that understands each other.
We are constantly saying to children, think it out for yourself. Does this make sense to you? If it doesn't, think about it again. Now, this degree of rationalism, this use of reason, is absolutely central to the Shia perspective on Islam. It is through our reason that we gain insight into the nature of God. And so this stress on reason fits very snugly into a modern Western educational practice. And therefore we can see that there's a good hand and glove fit between really introducing a Shia perspective here into Western educational method.
It was clear that only one interpretation of Islam was being taught to students at GCSE level. So the Al-Khoei Foundation, along with various scholars, teachers and academics, came together to build a platform for more effective outreach. Together they managed to work with the Board of Education and have the Shia interpretation added to the national RE curriculum. Al-Khoei would also facilitate and support RE teachers who would now be delivering the Shia school of thought alongside the Sunni interpretation to students in schools up and down the country.
I think there are enormous challenges for teachers in particular. And as an exam board, we have to support teachers. Many RS teachers are in any case non-specialists. They've perhaps done sociology, philosophy. Somebody at today's meeting, at the conference today, said she'd done international law, nothing whatsoever really to do with religion. Now, teachers with no specialism at all are going to need an awful lot of support. Of those teachers who are specialist, many of them will not have studied world religions. They will perhaps have done philosophy and ethics. And the fact that now religion has to be studied, because that, of course, is what religious studies is about. And I welcome the reintroduction, again, of religion into it. That's going to pose an awful challenge, not awful, not in this bad sense, but a very strong challenge for teachers.
One of the things that we have to take seriously is that we need a partnership in trying to educate people in our society. On the one hand, we need people who have a profound and deep understanding of the faith or the tradition. But on the other hand, we need people who have communication skills to communicate that to the audience that we're trying to speak to. Now, any communicator will tell you the first piece of market research is to understand the mental framework, the conceptual basis of the people to whom you're speaking. Therefore, we need people who are experienced at teaching the children of this society the educational system in this society, the whole philosophy of education, to be, as it were, midwives between the great scholars who have the profound knowledge of the tradition and those who can deliver it in all the classrooms in the country, either in writing or in teaching. And so my role is to be that kind of midwife. It is to draw from the great scholars, the ulama, and it is to communicate that material in a conceptual framework which the teachers can understand and which they can then pass on to the children. Now, what's crucial is that most of the RE teachers in a place like Britain are not trained in Islam at all. They are trained either in another religious tradition like Christianity, or they're trained in sort of secular religious studies approach. Now, therefore, they do not have the paradigm or the conceptual framework of Islam. And that's my function, to help them, as it were, see the lock into which the key has to fit. And until they have the lock, they can't put the key in the right way and turn it.
It's a collective teamwork effort with many other scholars, academics and activists in the community to work together to draw up how it is best to present Shiism to students, for example, within the GCSE curriculum, and what are the references to use and so on and so forth. Specifically, it's a blessing that I've been able to conduct a number of conferences, seminars and workshops and help out in the answering of the questions, in discussions of certain themes that are present within the curriculum. You've got to remember that this idea is relatively new to the teachers who are teaching this to 14, 15, 16-year-olds. They're having to now describe, for example, the Usul al-Din as far as the Shia madhab is concerned, and as well as that, the Aqidah of our brothers Ahl Sunnah.
Because they're getting a true picture. They're not getting the distorted picture that the media give. And if you go on the websites, you know, people without a real knowledge could so easily get onto a website that is totally distorted and doesn't give the true picture. Ashura, for instance, the festival of Ashura is a very good example of that distortion. And I think a conference today that explains things as they are.
First exams will begin in 2018. So GCSEs are 2 years, so they've started teaching them from September 2016.
The foundation also managed to release a textbook guide to help students and teachers with the new syllabus, as well as hold conferences and courses for RE teachers from all over the UK.
After a lot of editing, liaising with the scholars as well, because I'm not a scholar, I'm just a student of Islam and I'm just a teacher. We got a book that was agreed upon in the content, and then I just had the Word document really, and then when I saw the fantastic book being produced with the design, I was very, very impressed. And to see it, you know, in our hands right now, and to see it being distributed to teachers across the country, for me is a very, very important big step for us in the Shia community and in the world of RE, because I know a lot of RE teachers themselves. They've always been fascinated by Shia Islam because they never heard of it too much. Last year I did a conference myself when I spoke to a lot of teachers in the UK about Shia Islam, and when they heard about stuff like the 12th Imam and Ghadir and Ashura and Karbala, they were like, we've never heard this stuff before. And for me that was a clear indication that the RE community are ready for something like this, and they've taken it really well so far.
A balanced, neutral educational system which teaches religion rather than preaches religion is established, which is inclusive of all schools of thought within Islam, which will educate the average British child about Islam and its development, is so crucial. So when they grow up, their perceptions of all the schools are not tarnished by ignorance.
So we got to that point, and then of course we had to accept that then the teachers needed to be supported in being able to teach some material which they'd never seen before and never have been trained to teach. And it would be unfair to say that they weren't alarmed about it. Many of them were very alarmed when they saw phrases appearing. But the Al-Khoei Foundation decided that they felt it was their duty and their responsibility to do something about that.
And in developing the curriculum to address the study of Shia Islam, we worked closely with our Sunni brothers and their institutions to have an understanding of Islam which is non-polarized.
The foundation have been helped by the expertise of scholars such as Ayatollah Dr. Sayyid Fadl Milani, Sheikh Mohammad Al-Hilli and Dr. Chris Hewer, who have all had a great input in supporting teachers and examination boards with the new syllabus.
I think it's always a mistake if you try to present a religion as some sort of, a fixed entity, if you like, or something that is just uniform and that everybody is practicing the same way. It's not how religion is in the world. It's not how religion is in Britain. It won't be their experience when they're meeting friends or people that they meet outside the classroom. And so we're doing the religions a disservice if we try to present them as just monocultural, monoethnic, and certainly lacking in diversity. So that's why it's our duty, I think, as religious education teachers to present an accurate picture of how religions really are in the world today.
I think students' knowledge and understanding both of the religion and of the world in which they live will be vastly enriched by a study of Islam and by understanding the diversity of Islam. The fact that Sunni Muslims and Shia Muslims are not divided. Yes, they have differences, much say as Christians or Jews or other religious groups all have their differences. But I think in no religion has the difference been portrayed as division so much as in popular views of Islam. And hopefully this new focus in the new specifications on studying both Sunni and Shia Islam will help correct that distorted picture.
Sectarianism is on the rise. We have to kind of understand that is happening. But this could be an antidote to that, yeah? And also, of course, in addition to that, we need good leadership, good religious leadership within Sunni, within Shia, different denominations, to say, look, we are Muslims, we have some differences, but we have big common ground, huh? Same Prophet, Muslim, same Quran, same Qibla, the core beliefs are the same.
There is no doubt that today the word Shia, Sunni and Islam in general, the Muslims, are in the media on a very, very frequent level. I remember maybe 15, 20 years ago in this country, when there's an article about Islam and Muslims, everybody thinks, wow, there's something that's been written about Muslims and so on. But today it's such a frequent occurrence. And a lot of people now are exposed to this and they have a lot of questions. At the same time, there are a lot of misconceptions. There are the enemies of Shiism out there that are spending billions of dollars distributing pamphlets and leaflets, having satellite channels, having websites which distort the image of the school of Ahl al-Bayt and the Shia as well. So it's very, very important for us to not just be reactive but proactive.
The Al-Khoei Foundation have always had a good experience in education. Senior scholar Grand Ayatollah Abu Al-Qasim Al-Khoei was the leading marja or jurisprudential scholar for Shia Muslims throughout the world during the 1980s. He also led the seminary in Najaf, Iraq. It was under his instruction that the foundation was established in London. He always encouraged the community to pursue education and develop themselves in the West. This led to the opening of Al-Sadiq and Al-Zahra schools as part of the Al-Khoei organization in 1992.
I believe that education is a field which requires constant change and improvements. Al-Sadiq and Al-Zahra schools has come a very long way in the last 25 years, and yet we still have goals we want to achieve. Education-wise, alhamdulillah, the school has always been one of the best schools in Brent.
No examples? Yeah, go straight. Jobs. So, they're very hard-working people.
Specifically in the last few years, where more than 90% of our students have achieved a minimum of 5 A star to C in their GCSE exams, including English and Math. According to the league table of Department for Education, Al-Sadiq and Al-Zahra schools in the last few years has always come second or third amongst all private and state schools in the borough of Brent, which is a very good record. However, we are working harder to achieve higher goals.
When I came here, it was only primary, and then I had year 7, 8, slowly built, and in 1997 we had the first graduation that we saw that. Also, there was no reception. I had the reception.
What language do you speak at home? Arabic.
And even got in touch with the Department of Education to let us to have reception, because before that was the age of 5 to 16 that we had applied. But now when I had reception and made this playground for reception, it was very nice, for them to be separate from the olders, then they approved also before. Even recently now, for the last 4 or 5 years, we have a nursery. Also, then I applied for the nursery so that we could have also children for nursery from age of 3.
In terms of academic, we're offering a wider range of subjects. So at GCSE and Key Stage 3, the kids do citizenship. At GCSE, they have choices for business studies and psychology. We've recently introduced food tech into the timetable, so we have a new food tech room, so we're really excited about that. We are one of the top 5 schools in Brent. Last year we had an average of 95% of A star to C in English and Maths, which is well above the national average and the average for Brent. Apart from that, I think an area where we've really progressed and really grown as a school is by promoting diversity and community cohesion. So we work very closely with the Three Faiths Forum and the North London Citizens, and through these organisations our pupils are involved in interfaith projects with different schools and community projects. We have links with a Jewish school down the road, so our kids visit them, they come and visit us, and we do collaborative projects together. We have links with Islamia, with Arc Academy. Our boys recently played football matches with Stanmore Joffreys and won, may I add. So the idea is of working together as a community and other schools for the common good.
1, 2, 3. I am Muslim, true to God.
The Al-Sadiq and Al-Zahra schools accept students from the age of 3 up to 16. They maintain Islamic teaching is fundamental to children's upbringing. This starts from an early age at Al-Sadiq and Al-Zahra. The students are taught important Islamic values right from when they enter the schools. This is done in a fun and educational way so the children enjoy their learning. The school's primary classes separate the boys and girls with an average class size of 15 students. The students get a 15 to 20 minute break before midday and then another break for lunch and prayers, which are held in congregation. The school makes sure all students from the age of 8 attend the prayers and participate in supplications and Quran recitation. Staff at the schools have welcomed the new religious studies syllabus and are excited to finally be able to teach both the Shia and Sunni interpretation of Islam to their students.
I will consider it as one of the biggest achievements of Al-Sadiq and Al-Zahra schools and Al-Khoei Foundation in their history. Both Al-Khoei Foundation and Al-Sadiq and Al-Zahra schools have worked really hard to make this possible. The importance of this achievement is due to the fact Religious education is compulsory in UK.
We stopped at the point where the sea cat turned savage.
And from this current academic year, all schools are required to teach or to study 2 different religions for their GCSEs, as opposed to just one. As a result, in addition to all Muslim schools who are teaching Islamic GCSE, many non-Muslim schools have chosen Islam as their second religion and are teaching these Islamic GCSE books. Now, alhamdulillah, we have Shia Islam implemented in all Islamic GCSE books, which means many Muslim students and non-Muslim students across the country are going to study and get familiar with Shia Islam.
It is a school where teachers really do care about their students. It is a school where you come into school and there is the salah time, where there is an allocated time on your timetable where you go pray. Special occasions are celebrated, and I say to my students, I say to them, and I genuinely feel that way. I say, I'm so blessed and I'm so lucky that I come every single morning in assembly and we're reciting Quran. We come to school on a Friday and we recite Jum'ah together. We send our salams to Imam Hussein. We do ziyarat Imam Al-Hussein. We can send our salams to our Imam Ajjallah Faraja. So all of these small details make up what is so special in this place. And it honestly is the main reason why I teach it.
I think it's important for Muslims to attend a school that values Islamic teachings and cultures, because primarily it allows them to connect with their religion and gives them a sense of identity. Now, the ethos of our school revolves around inculcating the love of the Ahlul Bayt and their teachings. Throughout the year, we have special assemblies that mark the key events in the Islamic calendar. Here, the children are given an opportunity to express their feelings through poetry, lectures, through plays, even through artwork, which we've got around the school if you actually walk around. At the same time, I think it's really beautiful the teaching of the Ahlul Bayt entwine with encouraging good citizenship, and British values, getting them to understand what it's like to be a citizen in this society. So we do that through fundraisers. We're promoting charity. The children during the month of Ramadan will make Eid cards and donate food to a food bank. During Christmas time, they'll make Christmas cards, and we have a connection with a local church in Willesden, so they'll take their Christmas cards and food to that food bank. So again, it's promoting active citizenship and trying to get the children to respect their neighbours, respect the neighbourhood, and obviously respect other faiths.
Many students who studied in the 2 schools have gone on to achieve great things. Every so often, previous students return to the school, providing the current crop help and career advice.
Salamunaleykum. Thank you very much. You can sit down. So my name is Amina Al Yasin, and I was in this school from year 1 till year 11. So I left the school in 2005, and after that, 2003, it was that long ago, 2003. And after that, I went on to do my A-levels at Henrietta Barnett. And after that, I went to study medicine at Cambridge University and then Imperial College. And now I'm a paediatrician working at St. Mary's Hospital, and next month I'll be moving to Great Ormond Street Hospital. I remember sitting on these tables in this room as if it was just yesterday. Things were a bit different. The walls were definitely not so colourful, and we didn't have all these fancy whiteboards. We even had chalkboards in those days. That's how old I am. I think the most beautiful thing that I remember about the school is all the friendships I made. So because I had been here from year one, I never realized just how lucky I was to be in the school until I left it. And even though after the school I went on to college and on to different universities and I've worked in so many different places, definitely the friends that I have stayed most in touch with were the friends that I made in the school. Sometimes I wish I could go back and just make better use of the opportunities. Like the opportunities I would say the school gives you are, first of all, to just feel so comfortable with your religion and to be, living and practicing in a place that doesn't question you all the time and in a place where you feel very comfortable. And I think the second opportunity is to learn from all the role models around you, so from your teachers, but also from your peers.
I was here from year 6 up until year 11, and I done my GCSEs here. Afterwards, I went to do my A-levels. I done chemistry, biology, maths, and IT, and I done AS. Then we could have picked ASs or A2s in history. What I want to say today is that this year, you guys are year 10 and year 11, even year 9 sort of shapes up what you want to do for your A-levels, the subjects that you enjoy. And I think it's even though maybe I wasn't told then, but it's the right time to have an idea of what you want to do for university.
Alhamdulillah, of course, I know so many of them, students here who graduated, as you said, you're doctors, dentists, engineers in different ways, and some of them also teachers. In fact, we have, last year we had someone who was a student here and she was a qualified teacher and was teaching here, you see. So it really makes me happy because though for me, from the beginning I was refusing to become a principal of the school, I told Majid, but then when he said that, look, if you do not accept, then I thought it is necessary for me to accept. Though it is for me to become the principal or head teacher of the school, after being lectured, it's not good. But now I feel I am very happy because I have done a good service to the community, and the result is the graduation that we have working for the community and for Islam also.
The fact that I got to get the great values of Islam, the values from the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, and combine that with my chemistry, biology, maths, back then did not make sense, but it makes sense now. The way I spoke to my teacher, the way I spoke to my friends at school, it all built the character that I have now.
In this place, I'm known as Miss Al-Dabar. 16 years ago, I was known as Zina Al-Dabar. This place does mean a lot. I think I speak on behalf of a lot of students that live here, who, when they leave here, feel the true value of this place and how it has really impacted their life. So when I had this opportunity to be offered a job here, I said, I'd like to teach in my school. And when I did start teaching here, I've just found it very difficult to leave now.
So it's like it increases the pace, and it's almost like the person's heart rate is increasing, so that's kind of got to do with the thrill of war.
So I have ex-students whose children come to this school, so I'd like to think that we're doing something right in the school for them to bring their kids back, and it's almost like they want to give back what we gave them when they were here. And we're a very small school, and we work together like almost like a family unit. And I think the most beautiful thing we have is the relationship that we share with our students. We've got pupils who've gone on to become doctors and lawyers and doing all sorts of things in all walks of life. So that's really, really pleasing. And I think it's lovely to know that that journey started here in the school.
In life, we cross many stations. And as a student back then, I made my lifetime friends, as many of us do actually that come to this place. My brother came here, my sisters came here, and the friends that they had here are the same friends that they have today. I've been luckier than them. I've come back again, and I've made more friends in this place. I've met amazing people. I've been inspired by all these people that I've met here.
Is this your one?
Yeah. It went really badly.
Whoa, that is really bad. Where's all the bacteria gone?
No, that is the bacteria. There's too much of it.
In the last few years, we have eased all different routes of communications, including having an open door policy with those parents who want to visit us in the school. The PTA, or Parents Teachers Association, has been another big step which was taken, and we are very glad to have a group of parents supporting us and school projects. In fact, I hope that we can take this further and have more parents on board.
Even though some have questioned the fees that are paid to the school, the head teacher, Sayyid Ali Raza Khoei, emphasizes that costs are subsidized and the school does not make a profit.
In fact, Al-Sadiq al-Zahra School is amongst the lowest priced private schools in London. And our school fees are about 60 to 70% less than average fees of other private schools. Yes, there are state schools which are free, but unlike those state schools, we are not having any funding from the government.
Yes, Safa. Why? Why is she not good for us? Yes.
So, as a private school, our only source of income is the school fees, which these fees, they don't cover our school costs. And at the end of each year, the difference should be subsidized by Al-Khoei Foundation. Our very difficult task in the school is keeping the school high standards with minimum resources. In regards to those who have difficulty in bringing their children here, I understand that it could be difficult for some parents to afford the school fees. However, I think that these are a minority in our society, and we have always tried to cooperate with them to some extent when it was possible. Let me make this very clear. No one is here to make any profit. The school, from the first day, the school was established by Ayatollah al-Uzma, Sayyid Abul Qasim Al-Khoei, and then it was run for 25 years purely to serve our Muslim community in London.
The Al-Sadiq and Al-Zahra School are celebrating their Silver Jubilee this year. 25 years since they opened their doors to Muslim students from both Sunni and Shia backgrounds, hoping to continue supporting the community in London. Late Sayyid Abdul Majid Al-Khoei had hoped he would one day open a sixth form for the students. Alas, this wish still remains, with plans in place for the near future.
I think for me as a teacher, the most important thing is that I would like to think that I've made a difference in someone's life.
We are all here for the future of our next generation. And inshallah, with the support of everyone in our community, we will be able to fulfill our duties better.